like, here's the thing. My views on most issues, you grow up and, mature with some views, but for the most part, they've stayed the same. But the Republican Party hasn't. It actually shed its conservative principles under Donald Trump. And so it's basically bringing that to a significant amount of Republicans out there that are, thinking for themselves, like, look, I just feel uncomfortable in this party. It doesn't seem to be what I grew up with. And it's letting these folks know, look, there is permission this time to go vote Democratic. It's all right. It'll feel okay. And this is about fighting this target that's very near us, which is a real threat to our democracy.
I was a true believer. I was one of his closest advisors. The Trump family became my family. I spent Easter, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's all at Mar-a-Lago. I saw him when the cameras were off. Behind closed doors, Trump mocks his supporters. He calls them basement dwellers.
All right, guys, so we got to talk about a story that I think is a great example of how Trump derangement impairs your ability to think, okay? Not only does it drop your IQ a few points, okay, but also on top of that, I think that a lot of these people who are Trump deranged, that are so-called never Trumpers, that are overtly supporting Democrats, the most progressive party that we've ever had in this country, not only are they cognitively impaired, but I think they're also just grifting, right? I think that it is a combination of both, okay? And it makes me very, very, very angry and upset because they are traitors to the highest degree, okay? They are literally selling out for $1. They're not standing on principle. They're not doing anything brave or stunning or anything like that. They are literally selling out for $1. They want to be a part of the club. They want to be invited to the dinner parties, the club, the shows. They want to be a part of the mainstream, right? The Hollywoodification of the Democrat Party, because that is essentially what the Democrat Party has become about, okay? And these never Trumpers who decide to support Democrat, they are a special type of idiot who are getting short-term rewards for hating Trump, okay? Because again, it's not like the Democrats like them as conservatives. They're only useful for as much as they hate Trump, right? I mean, that's about it. Okay, but it's clear and obvious why they're doing it, because otherwise nobody really gives a damn about the never Trumper who doesn't openly support Democrats and spends most of their time hating and seething over Trump. And clearly there are rewards for coming out and hating Trump publicly. We see it all over the place. Like, for example, being able to host and speak at the DNC.
Please welcome TV personality, loud and proud Latina, Ana Navarro.
All right, it's an exciting time here for the delegates in the United Center. Caitlin Collins is on the floor. Caitlin?
Yeah, Jake, I am with Governor Gavin Newsom.
But your bravery allows people that maybe aren't so brave to quietly, like you said, go in the voting booth and say, well, if Stephanie Grisham, who is that close to him,
it's private back there.
I can do this in my own private little voting booth.
I
can
really
vote
believe
for
that's going
something
to
other
happen.
than
Yeah, so you've seen that, you heard that. No, that is Stephanie Grisham, who used to work for the Trump administration. Nobody really cares about her or cares about her opinion, except for the fact that she's willing to come out and to hate Trump. She's willing to use her insider status as a means of smearing Trump with stories that are unverifiable, right? Nobody can really verify if what she said is true, right? She's just saying that Trump said it, and you got to believe it because I was an insider, right? There is no monetary incentive for me to come out here and to lie about what Trump said in the White House, okay? Yeah, that's what's happening, okay? She is going full Alyssa Farah Griffin, right? That's what's happening. You guys saw at the beginning of the video, Adam Kinzinger is coming out and telling conservatives that, hey, it's okay to vote for Kamala Harris, who is the most progressive presidential candidate that we've ever had, okay, for the two major parties. This guy is openly telling conservatives, yeah, support Kamala Harris to save democracy, except there is no democracy in the Democrat Party, okay? The Democrat Party is overtly anti-democratic. So again, these guys, right, what they're saying doesn't make any logical sense. But what the Democrats are trying to do is that they're trying to use the never Trump Republicans who openly hate Trump and support Democrats They're trying to use them in order to sway voters who are on the fence about voting for Kamala Harris, who are, conservative or Republican or whatever. They're trying to sway them into voting for Kamala. However, clearly and obviously, this is not going to work, as explained by a former Trump administration official who hasn't caught a case of Trump derangement as to why this won't work on the type of voter that Democrats are trying to influence. Take a look.
David, we just heard from Senator Brian Schatz of Hawaii. When he said he looks at all these Republicans who are going to be speaking, he said he thinks it gives a permission structure to some Republican voters to vote for Kamala Harris. Do you agree?
No.
Why not?
By the way, to Jamie's point about some of the Democrats being jealous of Adam Kinzinger's spot, I know one person who was very jealous, Joe Biden. I bet he'd have liked to have that spot as opposed to 11:30 last night when no one was watching.
It was late.
Listen, so I like all the people you mentioned, right? Adam Kinzinger, Jeff Duncan's a friend. I know every one of those people pretty well. They are not, in no universe were they ever going to vote for Donald Trump. They're disgruntled, let's put it that way, Republicans. And so they are not the folks who can speak to people who are on that bubble, right? All those people that are going to speak that in this lineup are people who are, they're never Trumpers. They're not going to get, those people are already going to vote either for Kamala Harris or they're not voting in this election at all. They need to get someone who is a little bit more, maybe not someone who's on the January 6th committee, right? Maybe some other Republicans who aren't so disgruntled to come speak. That may be more persuasive. I don't think you're not winning any voters over anybody on the bubble with that crew. Just factually.
Yeah, you're not winning over anybody with people who clearly are doing this for fame, glory, money, status. That's why they're doing it, right? Because, again, just anybody with two brain cells to rub together knows that, okay, what these people are doing is ideologically inconsistent, right? It just doesn't make sense to call yourself a Republican/conservative, but to openly support Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. Again, the most progressive administration that we've ever seen, okay? And Kamala Harris has the most progressive agenda that we've ever seen. From what we know so far about Kamala Harris, which is not much, okay? But from what we know, she's progressive as hell. She's Bernie Sanders progressive, maybe even further left than Bernie. Who knows, okay? Who knows? So that brings me to the queen of rhinos. Okay, and a lot of people probably believe that Liz Cheney is actually the queen of rhinos. But the one thing I can say about Liz Cheney is that Liz Cheney might hate Trump, but she's still a conservative. Okay, she's still a conservative person. Like, I don't think she's going to come out here and start supporting abortion like Democrats do. Okay, in regards to having no restrictions. I don't think she's that type of person. Who knows? Maybe she will. I don't know. Maybe she'll completely flip. I don't know. Maybe she'll end up endorsing Kamala. She hasn't done so yet. But I do know one person that is a conservative and a Republican, but does not seem to have a conservative bone in her body. And that is Ana Navarro, who, again, I believe is the queen of rhinos. Okay, because I have no clue whatsoever why this woman still calls herself a Republican. It makes zero sense whatsoever. There's nothing Republican or conservative about her. And when you listen to her talk, like what she's saying literally makes zero sense, right? That's how you know that this is a huge grift, right? Like this is just a huge money grab, a status grab. That's what's happening here, because this woman sounds dumb as hell while she's in tears over hosting the DNC on the second day and trying to explain to voters why they should support her girl, Kamala. So without further ado, let's get into it.
So I broke with Donald Trump. I broke with the Republican Party, the Trump Party, way back then, and haven't looked back. And frankly, I did all I could to get Joe Biden elected. Joe Biden is a man I've known for over 20 some years. I was so glad to see him get his flowers yesterday. And I am incredibly excited, elated to help my girl Kamala accept the nomination here today. I've known her for about 7 years, and she's my friend. And I am thrilled to see that America is getting to see the Kamala Harris I have known, because I think for the last for a couple of years there, they tried to define her as what she's not. And I'm loving seeing this optimism, this hope, this joy, laughter, things you don't see in a Republican convention. I'm struck by the contrast, right? You go to the Republican convention and it's gloom and doom and fear and distress and division. This is a party. This is a celebration of democracy.
Yeah, so again, this is what I'm talking about when it comes to just things not making sense, right? Because first and foremost, you're hosting the DNC. Okay, the DNC, which again is for the Democrat Party, the same Democrat Party that staged a coup against Joe Biden and installed a candidate that nobody voted for. There was no democracy whatsoever in the Democrat process in regards to choosing their nominee from start to finish. And then once they decided to pull Joe Biden out, they said, hey, we're not giving the people a choice, right? We're just going to install somebody new and you're not going to vote on it. And even if, right, it wasn't Kamala, they still would not have allowed normal, regular people to vote. The delegates would have decided, right? The party elites would have decided who the candidate was going to be. But yet, Ana Navarro claiming that this is a celebration of democracy? Yeah, it just doesn't make sense, okay? There was no critical thought in regards to what she was saying. She just said it because that is what she's been told to say, right? These are her talking points that have been fed to her. By the way, another talking point that Democrats like to push out there is like, oh, well, Kamala's campaign is so joyful, right? And it's like, okay, well, what is there to be joyful about in a country where people are struggling to get by on the essentials because of Joe Biden's inflation, right? What is there to be so joyful about when Americans are saving less money than ever? What is there to be so joyful about when illegal immigrants are overrunning the country, committing crimes, and taking up our resources? What is there to be joyful about when you potentially are dealing with multiple foreign world wars and conflicts, right? What is there to be joyful about when crime is out of control in a lot of these major cities? So, you know, Kamala Harris can run a joyful campaign, but I'm not entirely sure if the country right now is prospering in a way that would allow people to have more joy, because the American dream is slipping away, right? It really is slipping away in front of our eyes. And to me, that's not something to be joyful about.
Optimism. I am beyond myself to have this role today because I'm a little refugee girl who fled communism in Nicaragua.
Wow. So you're going to vote for a communist? Kamala Harris is literally proposing communist economic policies, okay? That's what she's doing. That is the direction that she's taking the country in, and you're going to vote for that. Even though you claim that one of the reasons why you're so happy about this is because you fled a communist country, right? A communist regime. So you're going to vote to take America in the direction of the country that you just fled. Again, this is stupidity, right? This is ludicrous. Okay? This doesn't make any sense at all. And that's what pisses me off about these people. That's what makes me angry, because none of this is grounded in principle, but these people are trying to pretend as if they're standing on some moral high ground. And it's like, no, you're not. You're actually on the lowest of moral grounds when you do this, because you're pretending as if you're standing on some moral high ground, that you're doing it from a principle perspective, when you're clearly not doing it off principle. You're doing it for money, for your own self-aggrandizement, and for your own monetary gain. That's why you're doing it, right? It has nothing to do with you standing on conservative principles and saying, hey, I'm a staunch conservative. I don't feel like Trump is conservative, so therefore that's why I'm not going to support Trump. I can understand if that is the stance that you're taking. And that stance would lead somebody to not vote at all, to say, I'm not going to vote for Trump or Kamala Harris. But to be quite honest with you, even if you feel that way, you still should probably vote for Trump, right? Hold your nose, okay? Swallow your emotions and just vote for Trump, because Kamala Harris is not a moderate, right? She's not a centrist candidate. She's a far leftist. And surely from a conservative perspective, Kamala Harris is going to do more damage to the country than anything that Trump could dream of doing in regards to damaging the conservative agenda. So either way, again, if that's your stance, you don't like Trump, well, best case scenario, you hold your nose and you vote for Trump. But worst case scenario, you just don't vote at all. But Ana Navarro's not doing that. She's taking a step further. Not only is she campaigning on behalf of Kamala Harris and against Trump, she's also saying, well, yeah, you should vote for Kamala Harris, although her policies are the same policies that are going to lead us to the same situation of the country that Ana Navarro fled. Again, it's just nonsense. It's just nonsense, right? Like, you're actively going against conservative principles, right? That's what you're really doing. And the reality is that if it wasn't for their Trump derangement, these networks wouldn't give a damn about these people. Okay, Democrats wouldn't give a damn about these people either, right? Evidenced by the fact that you have multiple networks, including CNN and ABC, the network that Ana Navarro works for. Okay, they decided to skip her speech at the DNC. They didn't even cover it.
So, Martha, we're looking live pictures right now. This is obviously the vice president in Milwaukee. This is sort of an extraordinary moment, at least in modern political times, to watch as her convention plays out in Chicago. She's out there in one of the battlegrounds. Her running mate right there behind her, Governor Walz, of course. Let's go down to the floor, though, here in Chicago. As you're looking at Milwaukee, we'll get down to Rachel Scott here in Chicago. Rachel, what did they make when they saw the vice president up on screen? It was sort of like, a typical live shot from Rachel Scott out in the battlegrounds, only this time it was Kamala Harris.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I don't think we've ever seen anything like that on the convention floor, to have the vice president, the Democratic nominee, really beaming in here. Everybody was on their feet.
I know that Ana Navarro still calls herself a Republican, but I'm not sure how she can call herself a conservative, right? You most certainly cannot call yourself a conservative, okay? You might be a liberal Republican because a Republican is a party, right? Being a Republican is a party, okay? It's not an ideology, okay? You can have liberal Republicans, I guess, but conservatism is an ideology. Like, you cannot call yourself a conservative. Adam Kinzinger, Ana Navarro, Alyssa Fair Griffin, you can't call yourself a conservative. You can't. And again, I'm not entirely sure why they keep calling themselves Republicans, because you're advocating for people to vote for Democrats. So I don't get it, right? I really don't understand, okay? These people aren't going back to the Republican Party after Trump is done. You're permanently Democrats. You're permanently Democrats. And one of the reasons why it annoys me that these people won't just come out and say, hey, we're Democrats, is because what happens with these type of Republicans is that they exist in order to drag the Republican Party left, right? This is what they do, okay? Their sole purpose is to drag the Republican Party to a place where it's more liberal, especially on social issues, right? This is the whole point of these people. And we can't have that, right? We cannot have the Republican Party, conservatives, being dragged more left, because we've been dragged left for the past 60, 70, 80 years. And that's the reason why we're in this situation, okay? This country is too far left. We need to start going back to the right, okay? And one of the ways to do that is to kick these fake Republicans out of the party, right? No, you're not a Republican. Stop claiming that you're a Republican. Go ahead and start claiming Democrat, okay? You have to actually stand for something that is conservative to be a Republican. You don't stand for anything conservative at all. Nothing, okay? Nothing.
I just wish my mom was here to see it.
Wow. You're getting emotional. This has been an emotional time for a lot of people watching this.
Yeah.
Immigration is very much on people's minds. How does Kamala Harris deal with this particular issue? Should she address it here? Because it is such a big issue. The economy and immigration, time and again in polling, is something that people talk about, and they're worried about it.
Look, Kamala Harris, first of all, was not the border czar, right? That's a misnomer that Republicans have tried to put on her.
Yeah, Republicans try to put it on her. Yeah, Republicans. Yeah, was it Republicans trying to put it on her when ABC News was calling her the border czar? Was it Republicans trying to put it on her when CNN and MSNBC, ABC, all these outlets were calling her the border czar, right? When the White House was calling her the border czar? Again, these are straight Democrat Party talking points. What is Republican about this woman? There's nothing. There's absolutely nothing at all. Okay, nothing at all. But here we have this person grifting off of the title of Republican, pretending as if she represents how Republicans think. She doesn't represent any faction of the Republican Party. Not with these views. Not with these views. None. Zero.
I think she needs to talk about the complexity of the immigration issue. It is not a problem that was created in 1 year or 4 years. It's been decades in the making. And I think she needs to turn it around and put a lot of blame on Donald Trump. We had an immigration deal. And it was Donald Trump picking up the phone and calling senators and telling them not to vote for that deal because it would help Joe Biden, who was the nominee at the time, and hurt him. is what put the kibosh on that deal.
No, what put the kibosh on the deal is the fact that it wouldn't actually close the border, right? It was a deal that normalized illegal immigration. Also, on top of that, the Republicans have their own legislation, which is the Secure the Border Act. That is the legislation that, again, people like Ana Navarro, who claim to be Republicans, should be advocating for, right? She should be out here saying, no, this was our legislation, and it's Democrats' fault because they decided not to get on board with legislation that we passed in the House. It's still sitting on Chuck Schumer's desk. Once again, you have a Republican in name only, just spouting Democrat Party talking points, while at the same time trying to claim to be a Republican. It blows my mind.
So hold them accountable for what they've done, which is continue using the immigration issue for political fodder. Shame on them, because we need a solution.
So you said you left Donald Trump long ago in the Republican Party as well, but I think you probably still...
I'm still a registered Republican.
So you still speak Republican, right? So I am curious for the...
Speaks Republican. What an asinine statement to say, right? But again, the whole point of this statement, they're trying to drag the Republican Party left, right? That is literally the point of these individuals, okay? They are Trojan horses, really. But what about Ana Navarro speaks Republican, right? The fact that she loves drag queens, okay? That speaks Republican. Again, this is nonsense, man.
Remaining 3 days of the Democratic convention. If there are things you think that the Democrats should avoid, or if there's a certain way that they should speak to Republican or independent voters out there?
You know what? Don't overthink it. People need to speak from the heart. I think the reason that this campaign has captured lightning in a bottle in the last 4 weeks is because it's been organic, because it's been authentic, because it's been joyful. Wow. People want to join because you want to be part of the excitement. You want to be part of the party. You want to be part of the happiness, right?
Yeah, that's what you want, right? You want to be a part of the party. You want to be a part of all of the dinners and the glory that comes along with what you're doing right now, right? She's literally saying out loud exactly what I told you guys about why these individuals exist, okay? And she just said that everything about the last 3 or 4 weeks of Kamala Harris has been authentic, right? Yeah, this woman is delusional, right? She hasn't said anything that is factual in this segment. I mean, Kamala Harris is the candidate that is so fake that she is staging visits to diners and restaurants. She's staging getting a bag of chips. But here you have Ana Navarro saying with a straight face on CNN as a serious voice that, oh yeah, everything about Kamala's campaign has been authentic and real, right? It's so organic, when it's literally the most inorganic campaign that we've ever seen. And again, the crazy part about it is that it is obvious that it is very inorganic, that it is extremely fake. It blows my mind that these type of clearly deranged and very ignorant people are allowed on television to spew opinions that are nonsensical, right? Nonsensical. In fact, this is so nonsensical, I'm embarrassed by continuing to talk about it and react to it, right? I think I'm losing some brain cells listening to this. It's incredible. But again, my point is this. This is why I don't have respect for these individuals, right? These individuals are some of the lowest people because they're trying to pretend as if they're doing something from a principled perspective, but they're not. They're just doing it for themselves, okay? And they're pretending that they're doing it for some type of bigger cause and that they're sacrificing so much when they're not sacrificing anything, okay? They just want to continue to be a part of the club, and that's it, right? And I really can't respect that. I can't get down with that. And I really just wish that they would stop calling themselves Republicans and conservatives and just come out the closet for what you really are. You are a tool for the Democrat Party and a propagandist. That's exactly what you are. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.